Very good morning, students. So, how are you? I hope you all are very fine. So, once again, very good morning and welcome to another class of science. So, student, before we start our today's discussion, just a few instructions from my side that we teachers keep on telling you that the moment you join a live class, please mark your attendance by writing your 5-digit code number and your full name, right? It has been observed that some of the students, they are repeatedly marking their attendance. Just I was marking the attendance in the register, and few are there those who have marked their attendance in the same class 5 to 6 times. So students, please make it a point that it simply cause inconvenience to we people. So once you have entered the class, you have marked your attendance for once, that is much more than sufficient. आप एक बार क्लास में एंटर करके आपने एक बार अटेंडेंस मार्क कर दी, बस उतना ही करना है आपको, बार बार अटेंडेंस मार्क नहीं करनी है, राइट? Second thing, very few of you are writing wrong code numbers. Although by checking your name we are able to identify you, but still please do have a look in the code list which has been posted to your school group before writing your attendance. Okay, so 2-3 cases are there which are writing wrong code numbers, right? And one more thing, students, that few of you have not submitted your assignment, the worksheets which has been already uploaded to Google Classroom. In fact, few are there which have not even accepted the invite which is sent from the school to you people for joining the Google Classroom. So please accept the invite, join the Google Classroom as soon as possible, and please keep submitting your work assignments, right? So let's come to the discussion today. So in last class, as we know that we are discussing about the chapter number 8, wind, storms and cyclones. And in last class, I discussed with you about one important property of air, that is air expands upon heating, it becomes lighter and rises upwards, right? And another thing which I discussed with you was that air has a tendency of moving from a region of high pressure towards a region of low pressure. And I also told you that greater the difference of pressure in these two areas between which air has to move, greater the difference, higher will be the speed of the air, right? So till now we were only discussing upon the important properties of air, that air exerts pressure, high speed winds cause low pressure, and third one was that air expands upon lighting. And just fourth, you can also add that you have to remember the concept that hot air is lighter and that is cold air is heavier. So hot air will always rises upwards and cold air always tends to sinks down, right? So these few concepts now we have to keep in our mind to understand the basic concepts based upon which our chapter name is, that is wind, storms and cyclones, right? So now today we will discuss that how winds are created on earth, because we know that, as I told you in first lecture itself from this chapter, that air becomes wind, wind becomes a storm, and it is the storm only which becomes a cyclone, right? So we will discuss today that what are the factors which are responsible for generating wind currents on earth. जो अर्थ पर तेज हवाएं चलती हैं, जो अर्थ पर हवा चलती है, वो कैसे चलती है, that we are going to discuss today, right? So the first factor which is responsible for the generation of wind current on earth is unequal heating of earth between equator and poles, right? So in 6th standard in your social studies, you have already learned about That is some social, some geographical terms like equator, latitudes, globe, polar regions, right? And regarding equatorial regions, polar regions, we have already discussed in previous chapter, chapter number 7. There we discussed about the adaptive features of the animals, right? So, between polar regions and the equatorial regions, there is unequal heating of Earth, right? So, just if you refer the diagram which I have drawn on this board. So, here in this diagram, I have represented that is Earth, means globe. So, here just at the tops on both the side, you can see that I have marked in green color the polar areas, North Pole and the South Pole, right? And we know that our Earth is a kind of sphere. It is almost spherical in shape, right? And an imaginary line which divides this globe into two equal halves, into two hemispheres, that line we call it as the equator, right? So here in this diagram, I have drawn this part is equator. So I hope it is clearly visible to you. So this line is the equator, which is dividing Earth into equal hemispheres, right? So this is equator. Now what happens when sun shines? When sun shines means when sun rays, they fall upon the globe. It fall upon the globe. So what happens? As we know that the regions which are located nearby the equator, nearby the equator means those regions which are located on both the sides of the equator. As you can see, I have marked those regions especially with the red color. ओके, तो इक्वेटर के जो दोनों तरफ रीजन्स लोकेटेड है जिनको हम कहते हैं इक्वेटोरियल रीजन्स, राइट? सो दीज रीजन्स दे गेट मोर हीट फ्रॉम द सन. Reason is that these areas, the equatorial region is more closer to the sun as compared to any other region on earth, right? Now since these areas are more closer to the sun, means they are receiving more sunlight. So what happens? These areas, the surface of earth in these areas gets heated up faster and at high temperature. Now what happens? Whatever air is present in these areas means in equatorial regions, it gets heated, and we know that when air gets heated, it becomes lighter because it expands, its volume increases, it becomes lighter and it starts rising upward. तो इक्वेटर के दोनों तरफ के जो रीजन्स हैं उसमें ज्यादा हीट होती है सन की, तो उस एरिया में जो एयर प्रेजेंट है वो जल्दी से हीट अप होकर एक्सपेंड होती है, लाइट हो जाती है और वो ऊपर की तरफ उठने लगती है, राइट? ओके, now what happens, that is the regions which are present in the latitude belt of up to 30 degree latitude belt, right? तो इक्वेटोरियल के दोनों तरफ जो 30 डिग्री तक का एरिया है, लैटिट्यूड बेल्ट है, द एयर व्हिच इज प्रेजेंट इन दीज रीजन्स, इट इज क्वाइट कोल्ड एज कंपेयर्ड टू द एयर व्हिच इज प्रेजेंट इन इक्वेटोरियल रीजन्स. इक्वेटोरियल रीजन्स की तो एयर है वो हीट अप है, दैट इज क्वाइट हॉट एयर, इट इज वार्म एयर, इट इज राइजिंग अपवर्ड. लेकिन उससे थोड़ा ऊपर जब हम जाएंगे, जब 30 डिग्री की बेल्ट पर पहुंचते हैं, तो वहां की जो एयर है वो इस एयर के कंपैरिजन थोड़ी सी ठंडी होती है, राइट? एंड वी नो दैट कोल्ड एयर इज heavier, it is heavier, and now since it is heavier means it has a tendency of sinking down. It means in this particular place here the pressure is high. So in the area of 30 degree latitude belt, the air is cold, right? High pressure, and that is, it is cold air. In equatorial regions, the air has become lighter, it is rising upward. It means जब यहाँ से वार्म एयर ऊपर उठ रही है तो उसके पीछे लो प्रेशर एरिया क्रिएट हो गया, क्योंकि वहां से तो एयर उठकर ऊपर चली गई, तो पीछे आपका लो प्रेशर सिस्टम क्रिएट हो गया. So what happens? That air from this 30 degree latitude belt, it moves towards the belt of equator, right? And that causes generation of wind on earth, right? Similarly, what happens that the air which is present, yes, okay, yes. Now similarly what happens, that is the air which is present in the region of these polar areas, yes, this one. So this air is cold because we know that the regions which are located near the poles, they don't get as much heat from the sun as the equatorial regions, right? तो पोलर रीजन्स के आसपास जो भी बेल्ट है वहां की जो एयर है वो कैसी होती है, ठंडी, इट इज कोल्ड एंड हैवी, राइट? सो दिस एयर इज कोल्ड एंड हैवी. Now in comparison to this, the air which is located in the latitude belt of 60 degree, yes, in the latitude belt of 60-degree here, now this air is quite warm, it is quite warm. तो अगर पोलर रीजन के कंपैरिजन इस एयर को हम कंपेयर करेंगे 60 डिग्री की लैटिट्यूड बेल्ट में जो एयर है, राइट? So this air which is present in this latitude belt of 60 degree, it is warmer as compared to the air which is present in the polar regions. So what happens, that this hot air rises upwards like this, and cold air from these polar regions, it moves to take the position of that particular air like this. So that is how wind currents are generated on earth due to unequal heating of earth between polar region and the equator, right? And students, from this topic you can directly get a descriptive question of 3 marks, in fact can go up to 5 marks also, that explain how wind currents are generated on earth due to unequal heating between polar regions and the equator, right? Another thing, although from the diagram it looks like that the wind currents will move straight away, that is from north pole towards the equator and from this latitude belts directly to the polar regions. ऐसा लगता है कि एयर का मूवमेंट बिल्कुल स्ट्रेट होगा, पोलर रीजन से इक्वेटर पे जाएंगी और इक्वेटर से पोलर पे जाएंगी, बट इट इज नॉट ट्रू. They change our direction. Why? Because our earth is rotating from west to east. So just imagine that this is the axis of earth, right? And it is rotating from west to east. And because of that rotation from west to east, the wind currents, they don't move straight away, they move in tilted direction, right? So that is the reason why the wind currents are not moving straight, right? Okay. And just one general question, let me ask you, I hope you can answer that. I told you in the beginning that the regions which are close to the equator, they get more heat as compared to the other regions. Why? ऐसा क्यों होता है कि जो इक्वेटर के पास जो एरियाज हैं वहां पर सन की हीट ज्यादा पड़ती है? Why it is like that? What's the reason? You must have learnt in 6th standard in social. आपने social studies में पढ़ा होगा. Anybody? Why equatorial regions they get more heat as compared to any other part on earth? Okay, so some of you are writing because they get direct sunlight from the sun, because they are more, okay, they are more closer to the sun. Why they are more closer to the sun? Why they are more closer to the sun? वही तो की कॉन्सेप्ट है, ये तो सोशल में पढ़ा होगा आपने. वो सन के ज्यादा क्लोज कैसे हैं? Anybody? Why they are more closer to the sun? Anybody else? Face of equator is to the sun. Sun rays directly fall to on it. Okay. Do you know about the rotation of Earth? Okay, we all have learnt in lower classes in social studies that Earth is rotating on its own axis. That is called rotation. And while performing rotation, it is also revolving around the sun. ये हम सबने पढ़ा है, right? So what happens? We know that Earth is a sphere, and the imaginary line which divides it vertically into two parts, we call it as its axis, right? But what happens? The rotational axis of Earth, it is not perpendicular to the equator. Actually, this is bit tilted. Yes, and that tilt difference is 23.5 degree. तो अर्थ की जो रोटेशनल एक्सिस है वो स्ट्रेट नहीं है, वो थोड़ी सी टिल्टेड है। तो 90 डिग्री और उसके बीच में कितने का डिफरेंस है? 23.5 डिग्री। एंड बिकॉज ऑफ दैट टिल्ट इन द रोटेशनल एक्सिस ऑफ द अर्थ इज responsible for the thing that some regions of earth are more closer to the sun and some are quite far from it. So because of this tilt in rotational axis of the earth, equatorial regions, they become closer to the sun, and because of that they get more heat from the sun. So when you go to higher classes, you will learn that one of the region for the sustenance of life on earth is this rotational axis also. In fact, this tilt in rotational axis of earth is also responsible for bringing a change in the seasons. ये बहुत बड़ा डिटेल है, आगे जाके पढ़ेंगे आप, but at this level this much you should know, right? Okay, so that was the first factor. I hope I made it clear that how wind currents are generated on earth due to unequal heating between equator and poles, right? Now next one is the next factor. That one is unequal heating. Unequal heating between land and water. Yes, unequal heating between land and water, right? जो दूसरा फैक्टर है जिसकी वजह से अर्थ पर विंड्स जनरेट होती हैं, दैट सेकंड फैक्टर इज unequal heating between land and water, right? Now that is, students, as we know that we have not discussed till now the chapter number 4, that is heat. Now in that chapter there is one topic called land breeze and sea breeze, right? And same phenomenon get multiplied on, that is, big commercial scale. And to understand that, first we will discuss about the land breeze and the sea breeze, ताकि आपको next concept अच्छे से समझ जाए, right? So what happens? Let's first see that is land breeze. Let's start with the first sea breeze, then you can connect easily. Yes, sea breeze. Okay. Now if I want to define sea breeze in just the shortest way, then we can write that it is the blowing of cold air from sea towards land during day. Yes. So what is sea breeze? Blowing of cold air from sea towards land during day. And where it is happening? Sea and land we are talking, so most probably that is, it is happening in the coastal areas. Coastal areas means those areas which are located nearby the sea and oceans. राइट, नियर बाय द सीज एंड ओशन, जो समुद्री जगह होती हैं, जो समुद्र के आसपास प्रेजेंट होती हैं, राइट, कोस्टल एरियाज। तो कोस्टल एरियाज में क्या होता है कि डे टाइम में समुद्र से में सी की तरफ से ठंडी हवा आती है जो लैंड की तरफ जाती है। सो हाउ डज इट हैपन दैट, say for example, this we are having land and this is sea, right? So this is the sea, means it is water present here, and that is the land. Now what happens during daytime? During daytime, when sun is heating, both the surfaces, means land surface also and the water surface also, right? Now it has been estimated that when land and water gets heated, then the rate of heating up of land is quite faster as compared to that of water. In fact, it has been also estimated that the earth, the land, it gets heated 5 times faster as compared to the surface of the water, तो जब वाटर और लैंड की सरफेस पर दोनों पर सन की हीट पड़ती है, तो जो लैंड है वो वाटर की सरफेस के कंपैरिजन 5 टाइम्स जल्दी से हीट अप होता है। इट मींस द एयर व्हिच इज प्रेजेंट ऑन लैंड, it becomes heat up and it starts rising upward, right? So that is hot air. लैंड जल्दी से हीट अप हो गया, उसके ऊपर जो एयर प्रेजेंट है वो हीट अप होके एक्सपैंड होके लाइट हो जाएगी और वो ऊपर की तरफ उठ जाती है, राइट? Now since this air is rising upward, so here the surface becomes of low pressure. यहाँ पर कैसा प्रेशर हो गया? लो प्रेशर, राइट? Now compared to this, the air which is present on the sea, it is still cold, क्योंकि जो वाटर है वो बहुत धीरे धीरे हीट अप होता है. So this air is still cold, right? Now cold air means it is heavier. Heavier means this region is maintained at high pressure. This region is maintained at high pressure. So what happens? This hot air from the land is rising and cold air from the sea side rushes to take the place of this hot air on the land. And this blowing of cold air from the sea side towards the land is known as sea breeze. It is known as the sea breeze, right? Now, and this thing is happening. It is happening especially during the daytime. This is the phenomenon which happens during the daytime. It means sea breeze keep blowing in coastal areas during daytime. That's why the people who live in coastal areas, they keep the windows of their houses open, and generally they don't use their any kind of coolers. अभी की बात और है क्योंकि अभी ग्लोबल वार्मिंग की वजह से टेम्परेचर इंक्रीज हो रहे हैं. So there now people are repeatedly, they are continuously, and more number of people are using ACs, right? But if you talk about the weather in coastal areas to your elders, आपके ग्रैंड पेरेंट्स हैं, जैसे भी आपके रिलेटिव्स हैं जो कोस्टल एरियाज में रहते हैं, then you will come to know that many years back there was no need of any kind of cooling equipment like cooler. Desert cooler में काम करेगा नहीं because humidity is very high, and there generally people used to live comfortably just along with fan only. तो दिन में जो कोस्टल एरियाज में लोगों के घर है जिनके समुद्र के किनारे घर बने होते हैं, वो लोग क्या करते हैं, जो खिड़कियां हैं उसको खोल कर रखते हैं, और जनरली वो घर ऐसी प्लेस पर लेना पसंद करते हैं यहाँ पर जो विंडोज है वो सी की तरफ खुलती हो, बिकॉज ड्यूरिंग द होल डे cooled air will keep on blowing from sea towards the land. तो उनके घर में ऑटोमेटिकली जो कूलिंग है वो होती रहती है नेचुरल सी की तरफ से जो कूल एयर आती है. So that is called sea breeze, right? Now during night things get reversed. नाइट में ये फिनोमिनन जस्ट उल्टा हो जाता है, it get reversed completely during night. So during night the phenomenon becomes, that is land breeze, right? And that is, just we have to change the two terms from land towards the sea. Yes, so what is land breeze? That blowing of cold air from land towards sea during day in coastal areas is known as land breeze, right? And one thing, children, that every year I have experienced that students, they get confused while writing the definition of land breeze and sea breeze in definition, कि लैंड की तरफ से है कि सी की तरफ से। तो एक हिंट याद रखेंगे, जो टर्म हम बनाते हैं लैंड ब्रीज, ब्रीज का मतलब होता है ठंडी सूदिंग हवा जो आपको कंफर्ट देती है। तो आपको बस डेफिनेशन में ये याद रखना, ब्रीज का मतलब ठंडी हवा, उससे पहले लगाया हमने लैंड, इट मींस the cold and soothing breeze is coming from the land side, so that is land breeze. Sea breeze, the cold and soothing wind is coming from the sea side, so we are calling it as the sea breeze, right? So what happens during night? So let's again take the same, so that is land, and here we are having that is sea, right? Now what happens during the end of the day? What happened during the whole daytime? That the sun rays, they were heating the surface of the sea and oceans also, and the surface of the land. Okay. Now what happens that till we reaches to the night, the water which is present in the seas and ocean, now it has become warmer, right? But the air which is present on the land, now it has become cooler, because the tendency goes कि जो चीज जितनी देर से गर्म होती है वो उतनी देर से ठंडी होगी। सिमिलरली जो चीज जितनी जल्दी गर्म हो जाती है वो उतनी ही जल्दी ठंडी हो जाती है। मींस ड्यूरिंग डे टाइम land was heated faster and its air also became heated and it rises upward. But what happens during night, that this air which is present on the land, it becomes cold, क्योंकि नाइट होते होते लैंड जल्दी ठंडा हो जाता है, तो उसके ऊपर की जो एयर है वो भी ठंडी हो जाती है। So now over land during night is present, that is cold air. Now what happens? The water in the sea, it is still warmer, so it has not cooled completely, क्योंकि जो सी का वाटर है गर्म होने में बहुत टाइम लेता है, तो ठंडा होने में भी वो उतना ही टाइम लेगा। So what happens? The air which is present over the sea, that air is still warmer, right? So that air is still warmer, so it is warm air. So now we know that warm air will always rises upward, so this air will rise upward. So now what has happened here? Over the sea, an area of low pressure is created. तो सी के ऊपर की जो गर्म एयर थी वो ऊपर उठ जाती है, तो सी के ऊपर एक लो प्रेशर का सिस्टम क्रिएट हो गया, राइट? द एयर व्हिच इज प्रेजेंट ऑन द सरफेस ऑफ लैंड, इट इज स्टिल कोल्ड एंड हेवियर। इट मींस लैंड के ऊपर प्रेशर कैसा है? हाई प्रेशर है, एंड वी नो दैट द मूवमेंट ऑफ एयर इज ऑलवेज फ्रॉम अ रीजन ऑफ हायर प्रेशर टू अ रीजन ऑफ लोअर प्रेशर। सो व्हाट हैपेंस? कोल्ड एंड हेवियर एयर फ्रॉम द लैंड move towards the sea, and that is known as the land breeze, and this happens during night. This thing happens during night, right? So that is land breeze and sea breeze. Now this phenomenon of unequal heating of land and water gets replicates on a large scale for causing wind currents on earth. यही चीज जो अभी हमने शॉर्ट वे में पढ़ी, छोटे स्केल पे पढ़ी लैंड ब्रीज और सी ब्रीज में, अर्थ के ऊपर एक बिगर प्लेटफॉर्म पे क्रिएट होती है। लेट्स सी हाउ, एंड आई सपोज दैट यू हैव आल्सो डिस्कस्ड ऑल दोस थिंग्स इन सोशल। शायद सोशल में आपने पढ़ा भी होगा but I want to tell you one more time so that your concepts become clear. Just let me clean the board. Okay. Now in social, you have discussed that the lower part of that is India. Our country is like a triangular position. Okay. Now what happens? This is we are having a land mass. ये India का land mass है. Now on both the side oceans are there, right? So for example, here we are having. So here we are having that is Arabian Sea, and this side we have got Bay of Bengal, right? Now what happens that is during summer, summers में क्या होता है? Summers means that is the time period between, that is it started from April and it finally goes up to the end of August or beginning of the September. So what happens as soon as summer begins, the air which is present on the land, it gets heated faster. Okay, तो यहाँ पर जो air present है इस land mass के ऊपर ये heat up होकर ऊपर उठ जाती है, right? So that is hot air. And the air which is present over these seas, that is Bay of Bengal and Arabian Sea, right? So that is cold air. Cold air plus to that it is saturated with, so this is cold air and it is saturated with lots of water vapors because this air is coming from the seaside. तो ये एयर कोल्ड है, हैवियर है और बहुत सारे वाटर वेपर्स इसके पास है. सो व्हाट हैपेंस फ्रॉम द लैंड मास ऑफ इंडिया, हॉट एयर राइजेस अपवर्ड्स एंड द कोल्ड एयर फ्रॉम बोथ द साइड्स it rushes towards this land mass of India. Yes, and these cold and moisture saturated winds are known as monsoon winds. We call them as monsoon winds, right? And these monsoon winds are responsible for bringing rainfall to the most part of the India, right? And students, that the word monsoon, it has been taken from an Arabic word that is called mosam, right? So from that we have made monsoon. So that is during summer from April to August, that cold and moisture saturated winds, they keep on blowing from ocean and seaside towards the land mass of the India. Now during winter what happens? During winter, now the air which is present over this land, it gets cooled down as temperature becomes lower, but the air which is present on this Arabic and Bay of Bengal Sea, that air is still warmer. So let me just make the diagram one more time. Okay, that is how monsoons are created. So let's take one more time. So that is the same. So here we are having that is Arabian Sea and that is Bay of Bengal, and this is land of Indian landmass. Okay. Now what happens that is during winters? During winters what happens? The air which is present over this land mass of India, that air is cold now, right? It is cold air, right? And the air which is present over these seas, it is still warm. It is still warm air. So what happens? This warm air, it rises upward like this. It rises upward. Okay. So what happens? that from this land side, from India, especially from the regions that is northeastern states, northeast area, and then from the regions of Bengal, and that is Odisha. Yes, from these special regions of upper part of India, what happens? Cold air which also has picked up moisture, उसके पास moisture भी होता है, so that air start flowing towards the sea. It starts flowing towards the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal. But meanwhile it is flowing, it reaches to the regions like Tamil Nadu. तो जब तक ये सी की तरफ मूव करती है, बीच में रीजन्स आते हैं तमिलनाडु, बिकॉज इट इज प्रेजेंट इन द लोअर पार्ट ऑफ इंडिया. तो जब ये विंड्स जो कोल्ड है, उनके पास मॉइस्चर भी एम्पल क्वांटिटी में है, जब ये तमिलनाडु रीजन तक पहुंचती है, वहां पर पहुंचते जो वेपर्स इसमें प्रेजेंट है, उनका कंडेंसेशन हो जाता है एंड स्टार्ट्स रेनिंग. सो यू माइट हैव seen in the newspapers and news channels that especially in those areas in the Tamil Nadu, there leads to heavy rainfall during winters, and that is known as a winter monsoon. That is known as a winter monsoon. And students, that is on a very small and simplified scale, I told you this, but in reality movement and generation of monsoon winds in itself is a very complex phenomenon. Many more other factors, they regulate the generation of monsoon winds. And another thing, that monsoon in case of India, they are very important, because we know that maximum population in our country India, they are dependent upon agriculture, and most agriculture in India country is rain fed. अभी भी जितने भी मैक्सिमम काफी किसान हैं जो अपने खेतों की सिंचाई के लिए टाइमली मॉनसून का वेट करते हैं, राइट? सो दैट इज हाउ monsoon winds are caused, or simply how winds are caused due to unequal heating of land and water. So just here you have to remember the concept that whenever land and water gets heated simultaneously, it is the land which will get heated up faster as compared to the water. And similarly, since land is getting heated up faster, so at the time of cooling, again it will cool down fast, क्योंकि वो लैंड जल्दी गर्म हुआ था तो ठंडा भी जल्दी होगा. सिमिलरली सी वाटर वो देर से गर्म हुआ था तो वो ठंडा भी धीरे धीरे देर से होगा. एंड दैट डिफरेंशियल रेट ऑफ हीटिंग and cooling of land and water is responsible for generation of wind current between, that is wind currents on earth, right? So that is about today's topic. Okay, so okay, so one of you asking that madam, whatever you're writing on the blackboard, क्या वो हमें कॉपी में लिखना है? That is for explanation only. Rest you have already got detailed modules with you to study upon. आपके पास NCERT है, modules भी सोसाइटी ने अपलोड किए हैं. So just you are supposed to focus mainly upon the timely completion and submission of the worksheets. राइट तो जो भी वर्कशीट्स आपके गूगल क्लासरूम में अपलोड की गई हैं उसको टाइमली कंप्लीट करके आपको सबमिट करना है. बट वन मोर थिंग स्टूडेंट, दैट इफ टाइम लिमिट हैज ऑलरेडी एक्सपायर्ड, देन गूगल क्लासरूम विल बी सेंडिंग नोटिफिकेशन टू यू कि आपका जो टाइम लिमिट है, डेडलाइन एक्सपायर हो गई है, बट स्टिल यू हैव टू सबमिट द वर्कशीट. आपका लेट है पर कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, लेकिन आपको वर्क सबमिट करना है, क्योंकि वर्कशीट्स ही है जिसके बेसिस पे आपका असेसमेंट होगा, राइट? सो दिस मच यू रीड टुडे फ्रॉम एनसीईआरटी बुक. ओके, सो दैट्स ऑल फ्रॉम माय साइड फॉर टुडेज लेक्चर. फॉर further more topics we will be meeting soon in next class. So till then, take care. Bye. Thank you.